Hello, my dear friends, take a slow breath and allow the noise of today to fade away. Tonight we are traveling gently back in time to a world that moved slowly, quietly, and with deep routines. We are stepping into Japan about 500 years ago, during a time when life followed nature, tradition, and silence more than speed or choice. This is not a story of kings or battles. This is a calm look at daily life, seen through the quiet experience of ordinary Japanese women. Imagine you are waking up in feudal Japan. The house is simple, built from wood, paper walls, and soft mats on the floor. Light enters slowly through thin screens, gentle and pale. There is no loud morning sound, no machines, no clocks. The day begins when the body feels the light. A woman rises early not because she wants to, but because life depends on routine. Her movements are careful and practiced, shaped by years of repetition. She wears simple clothing, often layered, tied carefully, and chosen for modesty and work rather than comfort. Dressing is not about expression. It is about respect, tradition, and knowing one's place. Hair is kept neat, often tied or styled in ways that show age, role, and family position. Even before speaking, her appearance tells a quiet story about who she is in this world. The house is calm, but work begins immediately. Floors are cleaned by hand. Water is carried, not poured from taps. Food preparation starts early, because everything takes time. Rice must be washed carefully. Vegetables are prepared slowly. Fire must be managed gently. Cooking is not rushed. It is steady, patient, and repetitive. These tasks fill the morning, shaping the rhythm of life. Most women do not leave the home often. Their world is small but busy. Family duties come first. Children are cared for closely. Elders are respected deeply. A woman's value is measured by how well she supports others, not by what she wants for herself. Personal dreams are rarely spoken aloud. Silence is safer. As the morning continues, the body moves constantly but quietly. Kneeling, standing, bending, and walking onto tatami mats become natural. Over time, the body adapts to this way of living. Strength is built slowly, without training, simply through daily effort. Rest is brief. Work flows from one task to the next without clear breaks. Education for women is limited. Some learn reading and writing, especially in higher families, but most knowledge is practical. Skills are passed from mother to daughter through observation, not explanation. Watching is learning. Silence is teaching. Mistakes are corrected gently, sometimes without words at all. Religion and belief are woven into daily life, not separated from it. Shrines, rituals, and quiet prayers exist alongside chores. A woman may pause briefly, bow, or offer a simple prayer, asking for health, balance, or safety. These moments are calm, grounding, and private. As the day moves forward, life feels predictable but heavy. Choices are few. Paths are decided early. Marriage is often arranged. Obedience is expected. Emotional expression is controlled. Yet within this structure, small moments of peace exist. A quiet cup of tea, the sound of wind through paper walls, the rhythm of familiar work. As the morning fades into midday, the routine continues, steady and unchanging. In the next part, we will slowly explore food, hunger, health, and how women's bodies were shaped by this lifestyle, always calmly, always gently. For now, remain still. Let the quiet of old Japan settle around you. Let rest continue in its own slow time. Imagine waking up as a Japanese woman 500 years ago, long before clocks, alarms, or written schedules guided the day. Morning begins not with urgency but with awareness. Light slowly enters the wooden home through paper screens, soft and gentle. The air is cool. The house is quiet. There is no rush to leave or hurry forward. The day unfolds slowly, guided by habit rather than time. A woman rises carefully, mindful of others still resting nearby, because homes are shared spaces where privacy is limited and respect is essential. Daily life is centered around the home. The house itself is simple but alive. Wooden floors, woven mats, low tables, and sliding doors create an open space that changes with the needs of the day. A woman's movements are quiet and practiced. She sweeps the floor, opens the screens to let fresh air in, and prepares the hearth. These tasks are repeated every day, but they are never rushed. The rhythm of work is slow and steady, allowing the mind to stay calm while the hands remain busy. This repetition creates a sense of grounding. Each movement is familiar, almost comforting. Food preparation takes time and patience. Ingredients are simple and seasonal. Rice must be washed and cooked carefully. Vegetables are cleaned and prepared by hand. There are no shortcuts. Cooking is not entertainment or creativity. It is responsibility. A woman learns these skills from a young age, watching mothers and elders quietly work. Mistakes are corrected gently, often without words. Over time, the body remembers what to do. The hands know the work even when the mind drifts softly elsewhere. Clothing is worn with care, but practicality comes first. Layers of fabric are wrapped and tied in specific ways, learned slowly over many years. Dressing is not rushed. It is part of the morning ritual. The fabric feels familiar against the skin. Movement is considered because clothing shapes how the body moves through space. This awareness encourages calm posture and gentle motion. Loud steps or sudden gestures are avoided. The body learns to exist quietly within its surroundings. Family roles shape every part of the day. A woman's responsibilities are clear even if they are heavy. She manages the household, supports elders, and prepares for the needs of children. Emotional expression is controlled. Feelings are not ignored, but they are kept private. Strength is shown through endurance and patience rather than words. This emotional restraint creates a quiet inner world, where thoughts and worries remain mostly unspoken. Community life exists, but it is subtle. Neighbors may be nearby, but interactions are brief and respectful. A greeting, a small exchange of goods, a quiet conversation. There is no loud gathering in daily routine. Life moves inward rather than outward. This inward focus creates a sense of calm but also isolation. Many thoughts are carried alone. Many feelings are never shared aloud. As the day continues, work blends into rest without clear separation. There is no concept of leisure as we know it today. Moments of rest happen naturally between tasks, sitting quietly, watching the light shift, listening to the sounds outside. These pauses are not planned, but they are deeply restful. The body recovers slowly without needing to stop completely. As evening approaches, the household grows quieter again. Light fades, tasks slow. The same spaces used during the day become places of rest at night. Sleeping areas are prepared simply. There is no separation between work and rest spaces. Life flows smoothly from one state into another. As you imagine this quiet rhythm, notice how slow and steady it feels. There is no excitement, no sudden change, no dramatic moment, just continuity. This is what daily life feels like for many Japanese women 500 years ago. Calm, repetitive, demanding, and deeply shaped by routine. As the night grows quiet, let us pause here. In the next part, we will gently explore marriage expectations and how a woman's life path was decided. Always slowly, always calmly. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. As the days passed in feudal Japan, the life of a woman was shaped by steady work that never truly stopped. From early morning until the light faded, her hands were almost always busy. There was no clear line between rest and labor. Work was woven gently but firmly into every part of daily life. Imagine waking as the house slowly stirred, the sound of wood floors, soft footsteps, and distant nature filling the air. Before many others were fully awake, women were already moving, preparing the home for the day ahead. Household work was not simple or quick. Cooking alone required time and care. Rice had to be washed slowly and cooked with attention. Vegetables were prepared by hand, often grown nearby or gathered locally. Fires had to be managed carefully, kept low and steady. There were no shortcuts. Everything depended on patience and routine. These daily tasks created a rhythm that shaped the body and mind, making life feel predictable, but also demanding. Beyond cooking, cleaning the home was constant. Floors were swept, surfaces wiped, and spaces kept orderly. Cleanliness was deeply valued, not only for comfort, but as a reflection of inner calm and respect. This work was quiet and repetitive, yet it gave structure to the day. The simple act of maintaining order helped bring a sense of balance in a world where many things could not be controlled. Many women also worked outside the home. In rural areas, they helped in the fields, planting, tending crops, and harvesting alongside family members. The work was slow and physical, guided by the seasons rather than the clock. In towns, women contributed through weaving, sewing, or small trade. Cloth was made by hand, thread by thread, requiring focus and long hours. These skills were learned early and practiced daily, becoming part of a woman's identity. Responsibility extended beyond physical labor. Women were expected to manage the emotional life of the household. They maintained harmony, avoided conflict, and supported family members quietly. Expressing frustration openly was discouraged. Strength was shown through calm endurance rather than words. This emotional restraint required great inner discipline, shaping a quiet resilience that defined many women's lives. Marriage added more responsibility. A married woman often moved into her husband's family home, adapting to new rules, expectations, and relationships. She learned her place carefully, showing respect to elders and fulfilling her role without complaint. This adjustment was not easy, but it was expected to be done gracefully. Personal desires were set aside in favor of duty and stability. Despite the weight of these responsibilities, moments of quiet existed. Small pauses during the day, the sound of wind through trees, or the soft rhythm of repetitive work offered a kind of calm. These moments did not remove hardship, but they softened it. Life was not about seeking happiness loudly, but about finding steadiness within routine. As you imagine this life now, notice the quiet strength it required. There was no praise for daily endurance, no recognition for constant effort. Yet the household, the family, and the wider community depended on this unseen labor. This steady contribution formed the foundation of daily life in feudal Japan. As the night grows quieter, let this image settle gently. In the next part, we will move slowly into the inner world of thoughts, emotions, and personal identity, exploring how women found meaning and calm within such structured lives. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue softly in its own time. As the sun rose higher over villages, towns, and quiet mountain homes, the day for Japanese women truly began, and in many ways, it never really ended. Life 500 years ago did not separate work into clear hours. There was no moment when a woman could say her duties were finished. Work flowed slowly from morning into afternoon, and then into evening, changing shape, but never fully stopping. Even when the body rested, the mind remained aware of what still needed to be done. Most women spent their days moving between many small tasks rather than one large one. Cooking rice, cleaning hearths, washing cloth, carrying water, preparing vegetables, feeding animals, tending small gardens, repairing clothing, and caring for children were all woven together. None of these tasks were rushed, but none were optional. Each one mattered for survival. If rice was not washed properly, meals suffered. If cloth was not repaired, warmth was lost. Every action carried quiet importance. In farming families, women worked beside men in the fields during planting and harvest seasons. They bent low to the ground, their movements steady and practiced. They planted seedlings, removed weeds, gathered crops, and carried heavy bundles back home. The body learned endurance rather than strength. Pain was expected and rarely spoken about. There was no time to stop for long. Rest came only in short pauses, often while standing or kneeling, never fully lying down during daylight. Inside the home, work continued without attention or praise. Floors were swept carefully. Cooking fires were watched closely. Water had to be fetched again and again, often from far away. Laundry was done by hand in cold streams, even in winter. Hands became rough and skin cracked, but this was considered normal. The body adapted quietly, accepting discomfort as part of daily life. Childcare was constant and shared across tasks. Babies were often carried on the back while women worked, their small weight becoming part of the body's balance. Older children learned by watching and helping, slowly stepping into the same routines. There was little separation between teaching and working. Life itself was the lesson. For women in towns and cities, work took different forms but was no less demanding. Some helped run small shops, prepared food for sale, made paper, dyed cloth, or assisted in family businesses. Others worked as servants in wealthier homes, following strict rules and schedules. Silence, obedience, and careful movement were expected. Mistakes brought shame, not discussion. Even women from higher social classes were rarely free from responsibility. While they did not perform heavy labor, their days were filled with managing households, overseeing servants, arranging meals, maintaining appearances, and following complex social customs. Their work was mental rather than physical, but it carried constant pressure. One wrong action or word could affect the entire family's reputation. As evening approached, work did not stop. Food had to be prepared again. Fires were managed carefully to last through the night. Clothing was mended by dim light. Children were settled. Elder family members were cared for. Only when darkness fully arrived did movement slow, and even then women often continued working quietly while seated. As you imagine this day stretching long and unbroken, notice how steady and repetitive it feels. There is no drama here, no sudden change, just endurance carried gently from one task to the next. This was daily life for Japanese women 500 years ago. Not loud, not fast, just constant. As the night grows quiet now, let this image soften. You do not need to carry it forward. Let your breathing slow. Let your body rest where theirs rarely could. For many Japanese women 500 years ago, marriage was not a sudden event filled with romance, but a gradual shift into a new set of responsibilities. Often, marriages were arranged by families based on social position, land needs, or alliances between households. A young woman might not know her future husband well, or at all, before the marriage. What mattered most was not personal desire, but harmony between families. From an early age, women were gently prepared for this reality, learning that marriage was a duty, not a personal journey. After marriage, daily life changed in quiet but lasting ways. A woman usually moved into her husband's household, where she became part of a larger family structure. Her role was clearly defined. She was expected to manage the inner spaces of the home, care for elders, raise children, and support her husband's work, whether that work involved farming, craftsmanship, or service to a lord. These duties were not loudly praised, but they were essential. Without her steady presence, the household could not function smoothly. Emotional expression in marriage was subtle. Love, as understood today, was not always openly discussed. Instead, care was shown through actions. Preparing food carefully, keeping clothing clean and mended, maintaining calm during difficult times. These quiet acts were seen as signs of devotion and strength. A woman's patience and endurance were deeply valued, even if rarely spoken about directly. Religion and belief offered some comfort in this structured life. Buddhist and Shinto practices encouraged acceptance, balance, and inner calm. Women found moments of peace in simple rituals, such as offering prayers, tending household shrines, or participating in seasonal festivals. These small spiritual practices provided a sense of meaning beyond daily labor, reminding women that their lives were part of a larger, flowing world. Motherhood was another central part of life, though it came with both joy and uncertainty. Childbirth was risky, and medical knowledge was limited. Women relied on the wisdom of older women, midwives, and traditional practices. Despite the dangers, children were deeply cherished, especially sons who could carry on the family line. Daughters, too, were loved, though they were gently prepared for the same path of duty and quiet strength. As you imagine this life, notice how much of it depended on inner resilience. These women were not powerless, even if their choices were limited. Their strength lived in consistency, care, and the ability to endure without complaint. They held families together through routine, patience, and quiet understanding. As the night grows calm again, let this image soften. Imagine the gentle rhythm of household life, steady and predictable, carried forward day after day. In the next part, we will slowly explore clothing, appearance, and how women expressed identity within strict traditions. For now, remain still. Let your breathing stay slow. Let rest continue gently in its own time. As the days passed in feudal Japan, the work of women never truly stopped, but it also never felt rushed. Imagine waking before the sun rises, when the air is cool and the world is still quiet. A Japanese woman would begin her day slowly, often without words, moving through familiar motions she had learned from childhood. Work was not separated from life. It was life itself. Every task, no matter how small, carried meaning because it helped the household survive and remain in balance. Much of a woman's work happened inside the home, but it was far from simple. Cooking alone required time, patience, and care. Rice had to be washed carefully, water changed again and again until it ran clear. Fire had to be built gently, not too strong and not too weak. Meals were plain, but preparation took hours. Nothing was wasted. Even scraps had value. This daily repetition created a quiet rhythm that shaped the body and mind. Hands moved almost without thought, guided by habit and memory. Beyond cooking, there was cleaning, sewing, weaving, and caring for children and elders. Clothing was often made at home, stitched slowly by hand. Each thread was placed with attention. This work was done in silence or with soft conversation. There was no pressure to finish quickly. Speed was not admired. Care was. A well-made garment showed patience and respect, not urgency. Many women also worked outside the home, especially in farming families. They helped plant rice, tend fields, and harvest crops. This work was physically demanding, but it followed the seasons. During planting and harvest, days were long. During quieter months, work slowed. Life moved with nature, not against it. This connection to the land created endurance rather than exhaustion. The body grew strong through repetition, not strain. Despite all this labor, recognition was rare. Work was expected, not praised. A woman's value was shown through steadiness rather than achievement. This could feel heavy, but it also created a kind of inner strength. Pride came quietly from knowing one's role was fulfilled. There were no rewards beyond survival and harmony within the household. As the years passed, this constant work shaped personality. Patience became natural. Waiting did not feel empty. Silence did not feel uncomfortable. A woman learned to exist within stillness while remaining useful. This ability to work calmly without complaint was deeply respected, even if rarely spoken aloud. As you imagine this life now, notice how different it feels from modern urgency. There is no rush, no counting of hours, no race to finish. Just steady movement, steady breathing, and steady purpose. As the night grows quiet, let us move gently away from the work of the day and toward the inner life of these women, where thoughts, feelings, and quiet dreams lived beneath the surface. Remain still for a moment. Let the rhythm slow, let the story continue gently. As the years passed in the lives of Japanese women 500 years ago, one thing became very clear in their daily existence. Strength did not look loud or dramatic. It lived quietly inside them, expressed through endurance rather than action. From a young age, women learned that life would not slow down for discomfort, illness, or emotion. Each day continued regardless of how the body felt or how the heart carried its worries. This understanding shaped a kind of calm resilience that stayed with them throughout their lives. They did not expect ease, and because of that, They learned how to move gently through difficulty without resistance. Emotional expression was soft and controlled. Loud displays of sadness, anger, or joy were discouraged, especially within the household. Women learned to hold feelings inside, not because they lacked emotion, but because harmony was valued above personal release. This did not mean emotions disappeared. Instead, they became internal, private, and deeply felt. A woman might feel sorrow while preparing rice, or quiet joy while folding cloth, never speaking it aloud. Over time, this created a rich inner world, full of thoughts and reflections that were rarely shared. Spiritual belief played a calming role in this inner life. Many women followed simple rituals rooted in Shinto and Buddhist traditions. These were not dramatic ceremonies, but quiet habits woven into the day. A brief pause before starting work, a moment of gratitude for food, a silent wish for family health. These small spiritual gestures helped women feel connected to something larger than themselves, offering comfort in lives that allowed little control. Faith did not remove hardship, but it softened its edges. Aging brought changes, but not rest. As women grew older, their physical labor slowly shifted, but responsibility never disappeared. Younger women took on heavier tasks, while older women guided, instructed, and maintained household order. Their authority grew quietly with age, not through power but through experience. They became keepers of tradition, memory, and routine. Their voices carried weight inside the home, even if they remained unseen by the outside world. Despite their limited public role, women shaped daily life in powerful ways. They controlled the rhythm of the household. They decided how food was prepared, how space was kept, and how children were raised. Their influence was subtle but constant, shaping generations through habit and example rather than command. This quiet leadership often went unnoticed, yet it was essential to the stability of family life. As you imagine these women moving through their days, notice how calm and steady their lives feel, even within hardship. There is no rush here, no dramatic turning points. Just a slow unfolding of responsibility, care, and endurance. This is not a story of weakness, but of quiet strength, carried patiently through time. As the night grows quieter now, let this image soften in your mind. Imagine the gentle rhythm of footsteps on wooden floors, the sound of fabric folding, the quiet breath of a household at rest. Allow your thoughts to slow. Let your breathing remain easy and natural. In the next part, we will move gently toward the later stages of life and reflect on how these women looked back on their years, finding meaning in routine and continuity rather than change. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. As the day slowly moved toward evening in Japan 500 years ago, a woman's work did not suddenly end. The light outside softened, shadows grew longer, and the air became calmer, but her responsibilities continued quietly. After hours spent caring for the household, preparing food, managing children, and maintaining order, the evening brought a different kind of labor. It was slower, quieter, and often done while sitting on the floor, but it required patience and endurance. Sewing torn clothing, repairing fabric, preparing items for the next day, or simply cleaning tools and spaces were all part of this gentle but constant rhythm. Imagine her sitting near a low lamp, its soft glow barely lighting the room. The walls are simple, The floor is cool beneath her. Outside, the sounds of insects drift through the air. There is no rush now, but there is also no true rest. Her hands move steadily, almost without thought, guided by habit learned over many years. This evening work is not spoken about or praised. It is simply expected. The quiet of the night allows the body to slow down, but the mind remains focused, moving from one small task to another. In many homes, evenings were also a time of teaching and passing down knowledge. Older women quietly guided younger ones, showing them how to stitch properly, how to fold clothing correctly, or how to prepare items for future seasons. These lessons were not formal. They happened naturally, through observation and repetition. A young girl would watch closely, copying movements, learning without words. This is how skills were preserved, not through books, but through daily life lived slowly and carefully. As night deepened, meals were simple and light. Food was not heavy or plentiful. It was meant to sustain, not to satisfy cravings. Women often ate last, after others had finished. Even then, eating was calm and quiet, with little conversation. The body accepted whatever nourishment was available. There was no choice, only routine. This daily pattern shaped not just the body, but the spirit, teaching endurance and acceptance from a young age. Sleep came slowly. There were no soft beds, no private rooms in most homes. Sleeping spaces were shared, simple, and close to the ground. Before lying down, a woman would ensure everything was ready for the morning. Water containers were checked. Clothing was placed neatly. Tools were set aside. This preparation brought a small sense of order before rest. Only then would she lie down, often still feeling the weight of the day in her muscles. Even during sleep, rest was light. The body was trained to wake easily. Any sound, any movement, could bring awareness back quickly. This was not fear, but habit. Life required readiness. Dreams came softly, mixed with the familiar sounds of the night. When morning arrived, there was no long pause. The body rose again, repeating the cycle without complaint. As you imagine this quiet evening turning into night, notice how calm it feels, even though it is heavy. There is no drama here, no sudden events, just a steady life built on responsibility, patience, and quiet strength. This is what daily life was like for Japanese women 500 years ago. Not loud, not celebrated, but deeply rooted in endurance and rhythm. As the night grows quiet now, let this image slowly fade. You do not need to remember every detail. Let the calm remain. Let your breathing slow. Let rest continue gently, just as it did for those women long ago, in the quiet spaces between one day and the next. As the years passed quietly in feudal Japan, the lives of women settled into a steady rhythm that rarely changed, but never truly rested. Strength was not shown loudly. It lived inside small daily actions, repeated again and again without praise or recognition. From early morning until nightfall, women carried responsibility without pause. Their work did not end when one task was finished. It flowed smoothly into the next, like water moving through a narrow path. There was no clear moment to stop and reflect. Life was shaped by endurance rather than choice, and this endurance became a silent part of their identity. Imagine a woman moving through her day without complaint. not because life was easy, but because complaining changed nothing. Her hands were always busy, preparing food, cleaning living spaces, caring for children, repairing clothing, and managing the household in quiet ways that held everything together. Even when tiredness settled deep into her body, rest remained limited. Sitting still for too long was rare. The body learned to work while tired, to move without expecting comfort. Over time, exhaustion became familiar, almost invisible, woven into daily life. Emotional strength was equally demanding. Feelings were controlled carefully. Joy was soft and brief. Sadness was carried quietly. Fear was hidden deep inside. Showing strong emotion could disrupt harmony, and harmony was valued above personal expression. Women learned to hold their inner world steady, even when life felt uncertain or heavy. This emotional restraint was not taught directly. It was absorbed through observation, through watching older women move through hardship without outward struggle. This quiet example shaped generations. Marriage and family responsibilities continued to define much of a woman's life. But even within these roles, expectations were heavy. A woman was expected to adapt quickly to new households, new rules, and new relationships. Personal comfort mattered less than balance within the family structure. If tension appeared, it was often managed silently. Women became skilled at noticing moods, adjusting behavior, and preventing conflict before it surfaced. This constant awareness required mental effort that was rarely acknowledged. As years passed, aging did not bring rest or relief. Older women often took on new roles, guiding younger family members and maintaining household traditions. Physical work might slow slightly, but responsibility remained. Wisdom was valued, but it did not replace duty. Even in later years, the day still required attention, effort, and care. Life continued until the body could no longer keep pace. As you imagine this long, steady endurance, notice how calm it feels without being easy. There is no drama here, no sudden change, only continuity. This was the quiet strength of Japanese women 500 years ago. Strength that did not seek attention. Strength that existed simply to keep life moving forward. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image to soften and fade. Let the weight of these centuries rest gently in the background. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow rest to continue calmly, in its own quiet rhythm. As the years passed, life for Japanese women 500 years ago slowly shifted into a quieter rhythm. Youth faded gently, without celebration or fear. Aging was not something loudly discussed, but it was deeply felt in the body and the pace of daily life. Movements became slower. Hands that once worked quickly now moved with care. Mornings began earlier, not because of urgency, but because the body woke naturally with the light. There was a calm acceptance of time passing, shaped by tradition and observation rather than resistance. Older women held a quiet position within the household. They were not always powerful in an official sense, but their presence carried weight. Experience replaced strength. Knowledge replaced speed. Younger women watched them closely, learning not through lessons but through daily behavior. How to prepare food with patience, how to fold clothing properly, how to sit quietly during moments of tension. This wisdom was passed without words, absorbed slowly over many years. Work did not end with age. It simply changed. Physical labor became lighter, but responsibility remained. Older women often cared for children, guided household rituals, and kept family traditions alive. Their days were still full, but less demanding. There was dignity in this stage of life, even if it was never spoken aloud. Life was not about achievement, but about balance and continuity. Health in later years was fragile yet accepted. There were few medicines, and discomfort was part of daily existence. Aches, tiredness, and weakness were met with patience rather than complaint. Nature was seen as something to move with, not against. Rest was taken when possible, often in quiet moments between tasks, sitting near a doorway, watching the light change, listening to distant sounds of the village. These moments offered calm, even when the body felt heavy. Emotionally, older women often became steadier. Life had already shown them loss, hardship, and endurance. Expectations softened. There was less pressure to prove worth. Silence became comfortable. Many found peace in routine, prayer, or simple observation of the world around them. The rhythm of seasons provided reassurance. Everything changed and everything returned. As you imagine this later stage of life, notice how gentle it feels. There is no rush, no struggle to hold on to youth, just a quiet continuation. This was daily life for many Japanese women 500 years ago. Not easy, not free, but steady, meaningful, and deeply human. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image to soften and drift away. Let your breathing slow. Let your body feel heavy and supported. There is nothing you need to remember. Just rest gently as the story fades into the background. As the years passed in feudal Japan, the daily life of women continued to move in a steady, quiet rhythm that rarely changed, yet demanded constant strength. From the outside, their lives might have seemed simple, even repetitive, but within that repetition lived endurance, patience, and a deep understanding of balance. Every morning brought the same responsibilities, and every evening ended with the same tired stillness. There were no days truly off from work, only days when the work felt heavier or lighter. Women learned early that life was not about comfort, but about continuation. One day flowing gently into the next, without pause. Much of this strength came from learning how to move slowly through hardship. Women did not rush their tasks. Cooking, cleaning, weaving, caring for children, and tending small gardens were done with calm focus rather than urgency. Speed was not admired. Care was. A pot of rice was watched quietly. Clothes were folded the same way each time. Floors were swept with steady hands. These small acts created order in a world that could often feel uncertain. Through routine, women built a sense of control over their space, even when they had little control over their wider lives. Pregnancy, illness, aging, and loss were accepted as part of this rhythm. There was little complaint and little public expression of fear. Support came quietly from other women, from shared work, and from unspoken understanding. When a woman became pregnant, her work rarely stopped completely. She simply adjusted. Movements became slower. Tasks were shared when possible. There was no celebration in the modern sense, but there was recognition. Life was continuing, and that alone carried meaning. Aging did not bring rest. Older women continued to work, though their roles shifted. They taught younger women how to cook properly, how to care for infants, how to behave with respect, and how to endure hardship without drawing attention to it. Their value lay in knowledge rather than strength. Even as bodies weakened, presence remained important. Wisdom was passed quietly, through observation rather than instruction. Emotionally, women learned to live inwardly. Joy was often subtle: a well-prepared meal, a clean home, a child sleeping peacefully. These moments were not celebrated loudly, but they were felt deeply. Sadness was also quiet. Grief did not stop daily work for long. Tears were shed in private. Life demanded continuation even in pain. This emotional restraint created a calm exterior that masked a rich inner world. As the night grows quiet, imagine one of these women sitting near a dim lamp after a long day. Her hands are tired. Her body aches. But the space around her feels ordered and calm. She has done what was required of her. Tomorrow will be much the same, and in that sameness there is stability. Not happiness in a loud sense, but balance. Survival wrapped in routine. This quiet strength is what allowed generations of Japanese women to endure lives of responsibility and restraint. They were not powerless, though their power looked different. It lived in patience, in repetition, in the ability to continue without recognition. Their days were long, their rest was brief, but their presence shaped families, homes, and traditions that lasted far beyond them. As you rest now, allow this slow rhythm to soften your thoughts. Let the quiet endurance of the past fade gently into the background. There is nothing to carry forward, nothing to remember clearly, just a sense of calm continuation, moving slowly, peacefully, into rest. As years slowly passed, life for Japanese women continued to change in gentle but meaningful ways. Aging did not arrive suddenly. It came quietly, marked by slower movements, deeper breaths, and a calmer presence. A woman who had once carried water, prepared meals, and cared for children now moved with more care and less urgency. Her role within the household shifted naturally. She was no longer expected to do the heaviest work, but she was deeply respected for what she knew. Experience itself became her strength. Older women were often the keepers of memory. They remembered how seasons changed, how families survived difficult years, and how traditions were meant to be followed. Their words were not loud, but they carried weight. Younger women watched them closely, learning not through instruction but through observation. The way an elder folded cloth, prepared tea, or spoke softly in the evening carried lessons without needing explanation. Life slowed around them, and in that slowing, meaning grew deeper. Daily routines for aging women became quieter and more reflective. Mornings were spent near the home, tending small tasks, warming hands over tea, or sitting near open doors to feel the air move. There was comfort in familiarity. The same paths, the same rooms, and the same sounds created a sense of belonging. Evenings were especially calm. As daylight faded, older women often sat quietly, listening to distant sounds, feeling the rhythm of the household settle. This calm presence helped others relax as well. Aging also brought a deeper relationship with spirituality. Rituals felt more meaningful. Simple prayers, silent moments, and respect for ancestors became part of everyday life. There was no rush to understand everything. Acceptance replaced effort. Life was seen as something to move with, not against. This attitude helped bring peace, even when the body weakened or energy faded. Despite the hardships of earlier years, many women found a quiet satisfaction in this stage of life. They had endured, adapted, and remained present. Their strength was no longer physical, but steady and emotional. They had learned patience through repetition and calm through responsibility. This quiet resilience shaped the household and influenced generations without ever demanding attention. As you imagine this gentle stage of life, notice how calm it feels. There is no struggle here, only continuation. Life does not end suddenly. It softens, the pace slows, and the noise fades. What remains is presence, memory, and quiet dignity. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image to rest softly in your mind. You do not need to think about it. Let it drift gently away. Stay still. Breathe slowly. Let rest continue in its own peaceful rhythm, just as life once did for these women, long ago. As the years passed slowly in old Japan, the quiet strength of women became one of the most steady forces holding daily life together. There were no grand titles for this strength, no public praise, and no written records celebrating it. It existed quietly inside routine. It showed itself in the way women woke before dawn, moved through the house softly, and began their work without complaint. The day started not with choice but with responsibility. Fire needed tending, water needed carrying, rice needed washing, clothing needed folding. These tasks were repeated every day, and through this repetition, endurance slowly formed. It was not loud or dramatic. It was patient and constant. Daily life demanded careful balance. A woman's actions reflected not only on herself, but on her entire household. One careless moment could bring shame or hardship. Because of this, attention to detail mattered deeply. Movements were calm and measured. Words were chosen carefully. Emotions were often kept inside, not because women felt nothing, but because harmony was valued above expression. The ability to remain calm, even when tired or worried, was considered a quiet form of strength. Over time, this self-control became part of daily habit, shaping how women experienced the world around them. Physical work filled most hours of the day. Knees bent often, hands stayed busy. Bodies learned to endure discomfort without stopping. Sitting on hard floors, carrying loads, kneeling for long periods, and walking barefoot on cold ground were normal parts of life. The body adapted slowly. Pain became familiar, not shocking. Rest came only in short moments, often while sitting quietly or working more slowly, rather than stopping completely. Sleep, when it arrived, was deep but brief, shaped by exhaustion rather than comfort. Social expectations limited freedom. Yet within those limits, women developed subtle ways of expressing care and identity. Small gestures carried meaning. The way food was prepared, the neatness of folded cloth, the order of a room, or the calm tone of a voice all communicated respect and skill. Pride was not shown openly, but it existed quietly inside well-done work. A clean home, healthy children, and peaceful household were seen as signs of a woman's worth, even if her name was rarely spoken outside the family. As seasons changed, endurance adjusted with them. In winter, cold entered homes easily. and women layered thin clothing to stay warm while continuing work. In summer, heat and humidity made every movement heavier, yet duties continued without pause. The body learned to move with the season, conserving energy when possible and pushing through discomfort when necessary. This adaptability was essential for survival, and women became experts in reading their own limits, even when they could not openly rest. Emotionally, life remained contained. Dreams and personal desires were rarely spoken aloud. Instead, focus stayed on what was needed now. This narrowing of attention helped manage hardship. By concentrating on the next task rather than the distant future, women found a form of stability. Hope was quiet, built into routine rather than imagination. The future was not something to plan freely, but something to accept as it arrived. As you imagine this life now, notice how calm it feels despite its weight. There is no chaos, only steady movement. No loud struggle, only quiet endurance. This is what allowed Japanese women 500 years ago to continue day after day. Their strength did not come from power or freedom, but from patience, routine, and the ability to endure without being seen. As the night grows quieter, allow this image of quiet strength to soften and fade. You do not need to carry it further. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow rest to continue gently, in its own time. As Japanese women moved into later years of life 500 years ago, time itself began to feel different. Youth faded quietly, without ceremony, and aging was not treated as something dramatic or separate from daily life. There were no clear stages marked by celebration or announcement. Instead, aging happened slowly, season by season, like the gradual change of leaves or the soft wearing down of stone by rain. Women continued their routines, but with gentler movements, slower steps, and deeper patience shaped by years of repetition. The body carried memory in its hands, in its posture, and in the calm way tasks were completed without thought. Older women were often surrounded by the same spaces they had known for decades. The home did not change much over time. The floor mats were replaced, walls were repaired, but the structure remained familiar. This familiarity brought comfort. The body knew where to sit, where to rest, and how to move without effort. Even when strength lessened, experience compensated. Tasks were done more slowly, but with precision learned through years of practice. Aging did not remove purpose. It reshaped it. Respect for older women existed quietly, without formal praise. Younger family members listened not always closely, but with acknowledgement. Advice was offered calmly, often without expectation that it would be followed. Wisdom was shared through example rather than instruction. An older woman showed how to prepare food efficiently, how to conserve resources, how to endure hardship without complaint. These lessons were absorbed naturally, through observation rather than teaching. Daily work continued, but the focus shifted. Heavy labor was reduced and lighter tasks filled the hours. Sorting rice, folding cloth, watching children, preparing small meals, and maintaining household order became central activities. These tasks were repetitive, but repetition brought calm rather than boredom. The rhythm of simple work matched the slower rhythm of the aging body, creating harmony rather than frustration. Emotionally, older women carried a quiet depth, shaped by years of endurance. Life had offered little choice, little rest, and few comforts. Yet survival itself became a form of strength. Joy was not loud or expressive. It appeared in small moments like warm tea, familiar voices, or the steady sound of rain. Sadness was also present, but it was accepted rather than resisted. Loss was common, and grief became something carried gently, folded into daily life rather than spoken aloud. Sleep in later years came in shorter cycles. Rest was lighter, interrupted by waking moments that felt natural rather than disturbing. Rising before dawn was common, and mornings were calm and quiet. The world felt peaceful in these early hours, before others woke, offering a sense of solitude that did not feel lonely. These moments allowed reflection without words, a quiet awareness shaped by long experience. As you imagine this stage of life, notice how steady it feels. There is no urgency here, no rush toward anything new. Life does not expand, it settles. The days are familiar, predictable, and deeply routine. This steadiness brings calm, even as the body grows weaker. Strength is no longer physical. It exists in patience, endurance, and acceptance. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image of gentle aging to soften and fade. Let your own body rest into stillness. Let time slow down around you, just as it did for women long ago. There is nothing to prepare for, nothing to complete. Only rest remains. Stay still. Let the quiet deepen. Let sleep continue in its own gentle way. As Japanese women moved into the later years of their lives, daily life did not suddenly become easier, but it did change in tone and rhythm. Youth had been filled with work, learning, obedience, and physical effort. Older age brought slower movement, but also a deeper sense of knowing. Elder women were no longer expected to work as hard in the fields or carry heavy loads, yet they remained deeply involved in the life of the household. Their presence was steady and calm, shaping the home through experience rather than strength. Older women often became quiet teachers. Without formal lessons or spoken instruction, they passed down knowledge through routine. Younger women watched how they prepared food, how they folded clothing, how they spoke softly in difficult moments, and how they endured hardship without complaint. This learning happened slowly, day after day, without ceremony. Wisdom was not announced. It was absorbed through observation. Their days followed a gentle rhythm. Mornings were early, as they always had been, but movements were slower and more careful. Simple tasks filled the hours: sorting rice, repairing cloth, watching children, and keeping small household rituals alive. These tasks were not rushed. There was no pressure to prove usefulness. Simply being present had value. In a world where survival depended on shared effort, experience itself was respected. Emotionally, later life carried both peace and quiet sadness. Many women had experienced loss by this stage. Children who did not survive, family members lost to illness, famine, or conflict. These losses were rarely spoken of openly. Grief was carried silently, woven into daily routine. Tears were private. Strength was expected. Over time, grief softened into acceptance, becoming part of the inner world rather than something that interrupted life. Religion and spiritual belief played a stronger role as women aged. Shrines, quiet prayers, and small daily offerings became sources of comfort. These practices did not promise escape from hardship, but they offered calm and meaning. Sitting quietly, repeating familiar prayers, or tending a small household altar brought a sense of order and peace. spiritual life blended naturally with daily life, offering moments of stillness in an otherwise demanding world. The body, however, told its own story. Years of physical labor left marks. Joints ached, backs curved, hands showed signs of long work. Medical care was limited, and pain was accepted as part of life. Rest came not from treatment, but from slowing down. Even pain was endured quietly without complaint, as expressing discomfort was seen as unnecessary and unhelpful. As time passed, older women became anchors within their families. They remembered traditions, family stories, and unspoken rules of behavior. In moments of conflict or uncertainty, their calm presence brought balance. They spoke less, but when they did, their words carried weight. Experience had shaped their voices into something steady and grounded. Death, when it approached, was not dramatic. It was expected. Life had always been fragile, and its end was accepted as natural. Preparations were simple. Final moments were quiet, surrounded by family or familiar surroundings. There was no fear-driven urgency, just a gentle fading, much like the slow rhythm of life itself. As you imagine this later stage of life, notice how calm it feels. There is no rush, no struggle to become something else. Just quiet presence, steady routine, and acceptance. This was the final rhythm for many Japanese women 500 years ago. A life lived through duty, endurance, care, and quiet strength, ending not with noise but with stillness. As the night grows deeper now, allow this story to soften and drift away. You do not need to remember the details. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow rest to continue gently, carried by the calm rhythm of the past. As Japanese women moved into the later years of their lives, their daily existence did not suddenly become easier or lighter. Instead, it shifted slowly, almost gently, into a different kind of responsibility. Youth in feudal Japan was often filled with physical labor, obedience, and constant instruction. But age brought with it a quieter form of duty. Older women were no longer expected to work as hard in the fields or perform the most exhausting household tasks, yet they remained deeply involved in the rhythm of family life. Their presence carried memory, tradition, and silent authority. They rose early, as they always had, moving carefully through the home, preparing small tasks, folding cloth, tending fires, and guiding younger women through example rather than command. Respect for older women existed, but it was subtle and calm, not loud or ceremonial. Their words were listened to because they had lived through hardship, seasons of hunger, illness, childbirth, and loss. Younger family members watched how they moved, how they spoke softly, how they endured discomfort without complaint. This quiet endurance was seen as strength. Aging women often spent time caring for grandchildren, teaching them manners, household customs, and simple skills. These moments were slow and repetitive, but they formed the heart of cultural continuity. Nothing was written down. Knowledge passed through daily routine and observation. Physically, aging was difficult. Medical care was limited and pain was common. Joints stiffened from years of kneeling, carrying water, and working by hand. Vision faded slowly. Teeth weakened. Yet most women accepted this without protest. Endurance was expected and complaining was seen as unnecessary. Pain became part of daily life, something carried quietly alongside duty. Herbal remedies, warm compresses, and rest during daylight hours offered small relief. But there was no escape from the natural decline of the body. Emotionally, older women often lived with deep unspoken memories. Many had lost children to illness. Many had experienced difficult births or long separations from husbands due to work or war. These experiences were rarely discussed openly. Instead, they were folded inward, becoming part of a calm, steady presence. Grief did not disappear, but it softened with time, settling into quiet acceptance. This emotional restraint shaped the household atmosphere, teaching younger women how to survive loss without breaking. As the night grows quiet, imagine one of these women sitting near the edge of a wooden home, listening to insects outside, feeling the cool air settle in. Her life has been long and demanding, yet she remains steady. There is no sense of achievement or reward waiting ahead, only continuation. Tomorrow will look much like today. Yet within this sameness lies meaning. Her survival itself is the story. Her quiet strength has shaped generations without ever needing recognition. As this part gently comes to rest, allow the image to fade softly. Let the slow rhythm of this life remain in the background, calm and steady, as your own breathing slows and rest continues naturally. As a Japanese woman slowly grew older 500 years ago, life did not suddenly change, but it softened in very quiet ways. Youth faded without ceremony, without anyone marking the moment. There were no mirrors used often, no strong focus on appearance as the years passed. Instead, age was felt in the body, in slower movements, in deeper breaths taken before standing up, in hands that had worked for decades now moving more gently. Aging was not rushed, and it was not feared in the way it often is today. It was simply another season of life arriving quietly, like autumn after summer. Older women carried deep knowledge even if they did not speak often. Years of daily routines had taught them how to manage a home, how to prepare food with little waste, how to care for children, and how to keep peace within the family. This knowledge was rarely written down. It was passed through watching and repeating. Younger women learned by observing older ones kneading dough, folding cloth, preparing herbs, or calming a crying child. The older woman did not always give instructions. Her presence itself was the lesson. As strength slowly decreased, responsibilities shifted gently. Heavy physical work was done less often, but guidance and support remained important. Older women often stayed close to the home, tending small tasks, repairing clothes, sorting grains, or watching over children. Their days were slower, but not empty. Slowness was respected. There was value in steady presence, in calm observation, and in simply being there. Sleep also changed with age. Older women often slept lighter, waking earlier with the sun. Nights were quieter, filled with soft thoughts rather than deep dreams. They rested when they could, sometimes sitting quietly during the day, eyes half closed, listening to familiar sounds of the household. Rest was not scheduled. It happened naturally, when the body asked for it. Emotionally, aging brought a kind of quiet acceptance. Life had always been structured and limited, and expectations were modest. There was rarely time to dwell on regrets or missed opportunities. The rhythm of daily life continued, carrying each person along. Joy came from small things, from warm tea, from the sound of rain, from the presence of family nearby. Sadness was also accepted as part of life, not something to fight against. As you imagine this stage of life, notice how calm it feels. Aging did not bring isolation in the way we might imagine today. Older women were woven into the household, into daily routines, into the quiet flow of life. They were not celebrated loudly, but they were relied upon, and that reliance gave meaning to their days. As the night grows quieter now, let this image settle gently in your mind. Imagine the soft light of early morning, a woman moving slowly through familiar space, breathing calmly, carrying years of experience without needing to explain it. There is no rush here, no urgency, just time moving forward at its own gentle pace. Remain still. Let your breathing stay slow. Let the story continue softly within you, as rest deepens naturally. As the years passed slowly in feudal Japan, the quiet strength of women continued to shape daily life in ways that were rarely spoken about, yet deeply felt. Imagine waking each day knowing that your role was essential, even if it was never praised openly. Japanese women lived in a world where endurance mattered more than recognition. Their days were not marked by excitement or change, but by steady repetition. This repetition created a rhythm that guided their bodies and minds, allowing them to move through life with calm acceptance rather than resistance. From early morning until nightfall, work continued at a gentle but unending pace. Tasks were rarely rushed, but they were never truly finished. Cooking, cleaning, caring for children, tending small gardens, preparing cloth, and maintaining the household all blended together into one continuous flow. There was no clear line between work and rest. Even moments of sitting quietly were often spent mending, weaving, or watching over others. Stillness existed, but idleness did not. Women learned early to carry physical tiredness without complaint. Their bodies adapted to long hours of movement, bending, lifting, and standing. Pain was not ignored, but it was accepted as part of life. There were few words for exhaustion. Instead, tiredness became something familiar, like the sound of wind through bamboo or the creak of wooden floors at night. This acceptance allowed women to continue without constant inner struggle. Emotional endurance was just as important. Life was shaped by duty, family expectation, and social order. Personal desires were often placed quietly to the side. Love, when it existed, was expressed through actions rather than words. Care was shown through preparation, presence, and consistency. Many women learned to find meaning not in individual fulfillment, but in maintaining harmony around them. This focus on balance helped the mind remain calm, even when circumstances were difficult. Silence played a powerful role in daily life. Not all thoughts were spoken, not all feelings were shared. Silence was not emptiness, it was space. In that space, women found moments of inward reflection. While hands worked, the mind could wander softly. Thoughts drifted like clouds, never held too tightly. This inner quiet became a form of rest, even during busy days. At night, when lamps were dimmed and voices softened, the body slowly released the day. Sleeping spaces were simple and shared. Rest came not because everything was finished, but because darkness arrived. Women slept, knowing that tomorrow would look much like today. This predictability brought comfort. There was little anxiety about the unknown future. Life unfolded one day at a time. As you imagine this quiet endurance, notice how gentle it feels despite the effort involved. There is no urgency here, No pressure to become something else. Just a steady existence shaped by routine, patience, and quiet strength. This was the reality for many Japanese women 500 years ago. Not dramatic, not glamorous, but deeply human. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image to soften and drift away. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your breathing remain slow. Let your body feel supported. In the next part, we will continue gently, moving deeper into how aging, memory, and tradition shaped a woman's later years in feudal Japan. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. By this stage of life, many Japanese women 500 years ago had learned something very important. Even if they never spoke it aloud, they had learned how to survive quietly. Their strength was not loud, not proud, and never celebrated. It lived in small daily actions repeated again and again without pause. Waking before others, preparing food with care, cleaning spaces that would become messy again by nightfall, carrying responsibility without being asked and without being thanked. This quiet strength did not come from choice. It grew slowly out of necessity, shaped by years of routine and expectation. Imagine a woman moving through her home in the early morning light. The house is simple, the floors are cool, the air is still. She knows exactly where everything is because she has walked this space thousands of times before. Her hands move almost on their own. There is no rush, but there is no rest either. Every task connects to another. When one ends, the next begins. This rhythm creates a strange kind of calm, but it also leaves little room for personal thought. Life feels full, yet somehow empty of the self. Food preparation alone takes hours each day. Rice must be washed carefully. Vegetables are cleaned and cut slowly. Fire must be watched constantly, so it does not grow too strong or die out. Meals are simple, but effort is not. Women learn patience through repetition. The same motions, the same smells, the same silence. Over time, this repetition shapes the mind, making it steady, but also limiting how far thoughts can wander. Dreams feel distant when hands are always busy. Social rules continue to shape every interaction. A woman must speak softly. She must listen more than she speaks. Even her posture reflects expectation. Sitting properly, walking carefully, showing respect at all times. These rules are not always written, but they are deeply understood. Breaking them brings shame, not only to the woman, but to her entire household. Because of this, self-expression becomes restrained. Feelings are kept inside. Words are chosen carefully. Silence becomes safer than honesty. As years pass, the body grows tired, but the work does not slow. Pregnancy, childbirth, illness, grief, and aging all happen alongside daily duties. There is rarely time to stop. Even sorrow must wait until the work is done. Tears are shed quietly, often at night when no one is watching. This emotional restraint creates a deep inner world that remains unseen by others. Strength lives there, hidden and unrecognized. Despite this, many women develop a quiet wisdom. They learn to read moods without words. They understand seasons, weather, and household rhythms deeply. They know when silence is needed and when a soft word can ease tension. This knowledge is passed quietly from mother to daughter, through observation rather than instruction. It is never written down, but it shapes generations. As you imagine this life, notice how calm it feels on the surface and how heavy it feels underneath. This is not a life of excitement or freedom. It is a life of endurance, of quiet strength, of survival through routine rather than resistance. This is what daily life truly felt like for many Japanese women 500 years ago. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image to soften. You do not need to hold it. Let your body rest. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow the calm of this distant past to fade gently into sleep. As the years passed in feudal Japan, the life of a woman continued not with loud change but with quiet endurance. Daily life was not built around excitement or personal freedom, but around steady responsibility. From morning to night, a woman's presence was woven into the rhythm of the household. She rose early, often before the men, when the air was still cool and the world was quiet. The house was simple, made of wood and paper walls, and every sound carried softly through the rooms. Even small movements were done carefully with calm intention, because harmony inside the home mattered deeply. Much of the day was spent maintaining balance. Cleaning was not rushed. Floors were swept slowly. Mats were aired. Water was fetched and used carefully because waste was discouraged. Food preparation took time and patience. Rice was washed again and again until the water ran clear. Vegetables were cut gently. Meals were simple, but the care put into them was important. A woman's role was not only to feed the body, but to maintain order and calm within the space she lived in. This constant attention to small details shaped the way time felt. Life moved slowly, measured by tasks rather than hours. Emotions were kept controlled and quiet. Japanese women were expected to endure difficulty without complaint. Showing strong emotion openly was discouraged, especially sadness or frustration. Instead, feelings were held inside, expressed only through subtle gestures or silence. This did not mean women felt less. It meant they learned to carry their emotions privately, shaping a deep inner world that few others ever saw. Strength was not loud. It was patient and restrained. Social life was limited, especially for women of lower or middle status. Visits were rare and formal. Most interaction happened within the family or neighborhood. Even then, words were chosen carefully. Respect for elders and social order guided every conversation. A woman learned early how to speak less and listen more. Silence was not awkward. It was respectful. This created a life where inner thought often felt richer than outward expression. Religion and belief quietly shaped daily life as well. Shinto and Buddhist practices blended naturally into routine. Small rituals were done without drama. A prayer whispered, an offering placed gently. These moments were calm pauses in the day, giving a sense of connection to something larger than personal struggle. For many women, faith was not about answers, but about acceptance. It helped them endure lives that offered little choice. As the day moved toward evening, work did not stop suddenly. It slowed. Light faded. Lamps were lit softly. The household prepared for rest. Women often slept lightly, ready to wake if needed. Privacy was rare. Space was shared. Even rest felt communal. The body learned to relax without isolation, surrounded by the quiet presence of others. As you imagine this life now, notice how steady it feels. There is hardship, but it is carried slowly. There is restriction, but also rhythm. Japanese women 500 years ago survived not through rebellion or escape, but through quiet strength and deep patience. Their lives were not written in history books, but they formed the foundation of everyday life. As the night grows quiet now, let this image soften. You do not need to remember every detail. Let the slow rhythm remain. Let your breathing stay calm. Let rest continue gently, just as life once did in these quiet wooden homes. As Japanese women moved into later stages of life 500 years ago, their days did not suddenly become easier, but they did become quieter in a different way. Youth was a time of learning, obedience, and constant physical work. But age brought a slow shift in expectations. Older women were no longer expected to carry the heaviest burdens or perform the most demanding tasks. Yet their role within the household and community remained deeply important. Their movements slowed, their voices softened, but their presence carried weight built over decades of experience and endurance. An older woman's day often began before sunrise, just as it always had. But now the morning tasks were smaller and steadier. She might prepare rice, tend to a small fire, or quietly organize the household while younger women handled heavier labor. Her hands, shaped by years of repetitive work, moved with calm precision. Each motion carried memory, muscle, and habit. There was no hurry. Time was not rushed. The rhythm of the day was familiar, almost comforting, even when the body felt tired. In many homes, older women became quiet guides rather than active workers. They taught daughters and daughters-in-law how to cook properly, how to behave in front of elders, how to keep harmony within the household. These lessons were rarely spoken loudly. Teaching happened through observation, repetition, and gentle correction. Wisdom was passed not through stories or lectures, but through daily routine. The way rice was washed, the way clothes were folded, the way silence was respected. As the years passed, physical pain became part of daily life. Knees ached from years of kneeling. Backs stiffened from carrying water and firewood. There was no real medical care to ease this pain. Instead, women learned to live with discomfort quietly. Complaining was discouraged. Endurance was valued. Pain was accepted as part of existence, not something to fight or question. This acceptance shaped a deep inner strength that rarely showed on the surface. Social life for older women remained limited, but meaningful in subtle ways. Conversations happened while working side by side, not face to face. Shared silence was common and comfortable. Laughter existed, but softly, never loud or disruptive. Bonds between women were built slowly over years of shared labor, shared hardship, and shared understanding. These connections offered comfort without words. Religion and spiritual practice often became more important with age. Older women spent more time in quiet prayer, shrine visits, and ritual acts meant to protect the family and honor ancestors. These moments of stillness offered emotional grounding. In a life with little personal freedom, spiritual routine provided a sense of purpose beyond daily labor. Even small rituals gave structure to the passage of time. As women aged further, their world gradually became smaller. Movement outside the home decreased. Travel was rare. The household became the center of existence. Yet within that small space, life continued with depth and meaning. Seasons still changed. Food still tasted different each month. The sound of rain, the smell of wood smoke, and the quiet of night remained familiar companions. Death was not feared loudly. but accepted quietly. Older women understood that life was temporary and fragile. There was no dramatic reflection on legacy or personal achievement. Life was measured in service, endurance, and continuity. A woman's success was seen in the survival and harmony of her family, not in individual recognition. As the night grows quiet now, imagine one of these women sitting near a fading fire, her hands resting in her lap, her breathing slow and steady. She has lived a life shaped by routine, restraint, and resilience. There is no rush anymore, only the soft passing of time. Let this image fade gently. Let your body rest. Let the quiet deepen, and allow sleep to continue, slowly and naturally. Imagine the day slowly coming to an end in a small Japanese household 500 years ago. The light outside fades gently, and the sounds of the village grow softer. For the women of the home, this is not a time of rest yet, but a time of quiet continuation. Much of their life exists in moments that are never recorded, never celebrated, and never spoken about loudly. Their strength lives inside ordinary actions: folding cloth, cleaning tools, preparing simple food for the next day. These tasks may seem small, but they carry the weight of the household and the rhythm of daily survival. Japanese women of this time learned very early to move through life without drawing attention. Silence was not emptiness. It was a skill. Speaking less, observing more, and responding carefully were all part of staying safe and maintaining harmony. A woman's thoughts were rarely shared openly, but that did not mean they were weak or simple. Inside, there was awareness of seasons, people, moods, and unspoken rules. This inner attention shaped every action, from how she walked through a room to how she bowed her head when speaking. Much of a woman's emotional life existed in quiet endurance. Feelings were not expressed freely. Sadness, fear, or disappointment were carried inward and managed privately. There was little space to pause and reflect on personal desires. Life moved forward whether one was ready or not. Marriage, motherhood, responsibility, and loss all arrived as part of a shared expectation, not as individual choices. Yet within this structure, women found small personal spaces: a moment alone while washing clothes, a breath taken while looking at the sky, a calm pause while sweeping the floor. These moments were brief, but they mattered. The body also learned endurance. Long hours of work, repeated movements, and limited rest shaped a quiet physical strength. Women did not see themselves as strong in the way warriors were strong, but their resilience was constant and dependable. They carried children, food, water, and responsibility without praise. Their strength was invisible but essential. Without it, households could not function, and daily life would quietly fall apart. As the evening deepens, women prepare sleeping spaces, often simple and shared. There is no dramatic end to the day, just a gradual slowing. The body lowers itself to the floor. The room grows dark. Thoughts move slowly. Tomorrow will bring the same rhythm again. This repetition is not meaningless. It is stability. It is survival. It is the quiet thread that holds generations together. As the night grows quiet now, imagine resting inside this calm, steady world. There is no rush, no need to speak, just breathing, stillness, and the gentle passing of time. In the next part, we will continue exploring how women carried tradition, memory, and continuity forward even when their own names were rarely remembered. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. As night slowly settled over towns and villages in Japan 500 years ago, life for women became softer and quieter, moving away from visible work and into stillness. Imagine the sun lowering behind hills or rooftops, its light fading gently across wooden homes and narrow paths. The air cools, sounds soften, and the day's labor slowly releases its grip. For Japanese women, night was not a time of activity, but a time of recovery. Lamps were dim, candles were used carefully. Firelight flickered gently on paper walls, creating calm shadows that moved slowly with the air. The world became smaller and quieter, and the body naturally followed. Inside the home, evening routines were simple and familiar. Dishes were cleaned slowly. Tools were set aside. Clothing was folded with care. There was no rush. These repeated actions signaled the end of the day to both body and mind. Women often checked on children, elders, or family members, making sure everyone was settled and warm. Conversation, if any, was soft and brief. Silence was comfortable, not awkward. It allowed thoughts to settle naturally, without pressure or expectation. Sleep itself was light and shared. Futons were laid out on tatami mats close to one another. Privacy was limited, but comfort came from familiarity and routine. The body rested close to the floor, grounded and steady. Windows and doors were thin, allowing night air and distant sounds to pass through. Crickets, wind, and distant footsteps blended into the background. These sounds were not disturbing. They were part of life, familiar and reassuring. As women lay down, the mind often turned inward. There was little external distraction, no artificial light, no noise demanding attention. This quiet allowed reflection. Thoughts of the day passed gently through awareness. Tasks completed, words spoken, small worries and small comforts. There was no habit of overthinking. The rhythm of daily life was steady enough that the mind did not race. Reflection happened slowly, naturally, and often faded into sleep without effort. Dreams were seen as a normal part of rest, not something to fear or analyze deeply. If a woman woke briefly during the night, she did not panic or resist it. Waking was accepted. The body shifted. Breath slowed again. Sleep returned in its own time. There was no pressure to sleep deeply or continuously. Rest was allowed to come and go gently, shaped by the body's needs. Night was also a time when emotions softened. Without the demands of work or social roles, women could feel their own presence more clearly. Fatigue was felt honestly. Relief was felt quietly. There was little space for dramatic emotion. Life encouraged acceptance rather than resistance. This emotional softness made sleep deeper over time, even if it was light and shared. As you imagine this night settling around you, picture the calm of it. No urgency, no brightness, no noise. Just soft air, dim light, and slow breathing. The day releases its weight. The body rests not because it is told to, but because it is allowed to. As the night grows quiet, let this image fade gently. Let your own breathing slow. Let your body feel heavy and supported. Rest does not need effort. It arrives when the world becomes small and still. As years passed and youth slowly faded, Life for Japanese women did not suddenly become easier or harder. It simply changed its shape. Growing older was not marked by celebrations or milestones. It happened quietly, day by day, as routines continued and responsibilities shifted. A woman who once carried water, cooked meals, and watched over young children now moved more slowly, but she was no less important. Her value did not come from speed or strength. It came from memory, patience, and quiet presence. Age brought a different kind of respect, one that was never spoken loudly, but was felt in everyday moments. Older women spent more time within the home and its surrounding spaces. They worked close to the hearth, prepared simple foods, repaired clothing, and watched over grandchildren. Their movements were slower, but deliberate. Every action carried experience. They knew how much rice to wash without measuring. They knew when the weather would change by the feel of the air. They knew when a child was unwell just by looking. This knowledge was not written down. It lived inside them, passed quietly through observation and repetition. Time itself felt different in these later years. Days were no longer rushed. There was less urgency. Morning light entered the room, and the day unfolded at its own pace. Tasks were done carefully rather than quickly. Rest was taken without guilt, but never in excess. Even rest had purpose. Sitting quietly, folding cloth, or watching smoke rise from the fire was part of life, not an escape from it. Silence was familiar and comfortable, not something to be filled. Social roles shifted gently. Older women were listened to more carefully, especially by younger women. Advice was given softly, often through stories rather than direct instruction. A comment about the past, a reminder of how things were done before, or a simple warning offered during daily work carried deep meaning. These women became living connections to earlier times, holding memories of famine, illness, and survival that shaped how families made decisions. Physical discomfort was common, but rarely spoken about. Aches in the joints, tiredness in the body, and fading strength were accepted as part of life's natural movement. There was no expectation to fix or cure these changes. Instead, work adjusted around the body. Tasks were shared. Younger hands took on heavier labor. This quiet cooperation kept life moving without drawing attention to weakness. Spiritual life often deepened with age. Prayer, quiet rituals, and moments of reflection became more important. Women spent time near small household shrines, lighting incense, whispering hopes for their families, and honoring those who had passed. These moments were private and calm, offering a sense of continuity. Life felt connected, stretching backward and forward through generations. As you imagine this stage of life, notice how steady and grounded it feels. There is no drama, no sudden change, just a gentle settling into a slower rhythm. This was the quiet strength of Japanese women 500 years ago. They did not seek recognition. They did not expect ease. They simply continued, holding families and traditions together through patience, memory, and calm presence. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image of slow, steady life to soften and fade. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. In the next and final part, we will gently bring this long journey to a peaceful close, reflecting on what these lives can quietly teach us about endurance, simplicity, and rest. For now, Remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. By the time a Japanese woman reached the later years of her life 500 years ago, her world had become smaller in movement but deeper in meaning. She no longer rushed through daily tasks with the same speed she once had, yet her presence carried weight in the household. Much of what she knew was never written down. It lived in memory, habit, and gentle instruction. She showed younger women how to move through the day calmly, how to prepare food without waste, how to sit properly, how to speak softly, and how to endure long stretches of life without complaint. These lessons were not taught in formal moments. They were passed quietly, while folding cloth, tending fires, or sitting together in the evening light. Pregnancy, work, grief, patience, and endurance were all understood not through words but through example. A daughter learned by watching her mother rise before dawn, care for the home, obey social rules, and accept uncertainty without visible anger. This quiet strength was the foundation of survival. Life was unpredictable. Seasons failed. Illness came suddenly. Men left for war or labor and did not always return. In this world, emotional control was protection. A woman learned to carry fear, worry, and sadness inward, shaping them into silence rather than panic. As women aged, they often became the emotional center of the household. Younger women came to them not for advice spoken openly, but for reassurance felt through presence. Sitting beside an older woman brought calm. Her slow movements and steady breath signaled safety. Even when life was hard, this quiet rhythm reminded others that survival was possible. This role gave older women a form of power that was not public, but deeply felt. Religion and spiritual habits became more personal in later years. Prayers were whispered, not displayed. Rituals were simple and private. There was no dramatic devotion, only consistency. These acts were not about hope for change, but acceptance of reality. Faith did not promise ease. It promised endurance. This belief shaped how women faced aging, loss, and eventual death, with restraint rather than fear. By this stage of life, a woman's identity was no longer tied to beauty, marriage, or fertility. It was tied to reliability. She was valued because she remained steady when others struggled. Even silence became meaningful. Her quiet presence filled rooms more than words ever could. In a society that demanded restraint, she had mastered it fully. As you imagine this part of her life, notice how calm it feels despite its weight. There is no drama here, no rebellion, no loud suffering, only continuity. The passing of knowledge, habits, and emotional strength from one generation to the next ensured that daily life continued unchanged, even as centuries passed. This quiet endurance was the true legacy of Japanese women 500 years ago. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image to soften and fade. Let the rhythm of slow movements and gentle breathing remain with you. There is nothing to remember and nothing to hold. Just rest, carried quietly forward, the same way these women carried their lives. As we reach the end of this long and gentle journey, it becomes clear that the lives of Japanese women 500 years ago were not loud, dramatic, or rushed. They were lives shaped by rhythm, patience, and quiet strength. These women woke each day not expecting excitement or change, but prepared to continue. They carried the household, the traditions, and the emotional balance of their families without being praised for it. Their strength was not shown in moments of power, but in consistency. Day after day, season after season, they remained steady. Imagine one of these women as the night settles around her village. The work of the day is finished. The house is quiet. The smell of rice still lingers in the air. Outside, insects hum softly, and the wind moves gently through trees and paper walls. She sits or lies down, her body tired but familiar with this feeling. There is no rush to sleep, no expectation to rest deeply or quickly. She allows the night to take her slowly, the same way it has taken generations before her. Her life has been shaped by duty, but also by routine that brings comfort. Even within limits, there was familiarity, familiar hands working cloth, familiar steps taken each morning, familiar sounds at night. These patterns gave life a sense of order. Even when life was hard, it was predictable, and predictability brought calm. These women were not powerless in their inner worlds. Though society restricted their choices, their minds held memory, knowledge, and quiet wisdom. They passed down customs, taught children, managed households, and kept traditions alive without ever writing their names in history books. Their influence moved silently, like water flowing beneath a bridge, unseen but essential. As you lie here now listening, notice how this story does not demand anything from you. It does not ask you to judge the past or compare it to the present. It only invites you to observe, gently, to imagine a life lived slowly. A life where evenings arrived without screens, without noise, without urgency. Just darkness, quiet, and rest. The night that surrounded these women is the same night that surrounds you now. Different times, different worlds, but the same calm darkness. The same slowing of breath. The same quiet settling of the body. As this story fades, allow it to drift away without holding on to details. You do not need to remember names, dates, or facts. Let the feeling remain instead. The feeling of slowness. The feeling of stillness. The feeling of rest. Let your breathing remain soft and steady. Let your body sink gently into comfort. Let the night carry you the rest of the way. Good night, and sleep peacefully.